Hello everyone, thank you so much for joining us today for the Untangle 101 webinar series. Today we'll be discussing Untangle's NG Firewall products and how it can help your school environment and network setup. If you're unfamiliar with Untangle, then this is the perfect webinar for you. My name is Shannon Bonfiglio and I'm part of the marketing team here at Untangle, and I'll be your host today. I also have one of our sales engineers, Chad McNaughton, who will be going through the demonstration and presentation today. So next slide, Chad. Thanks. All right, just a few housekeeping rules before I pass it over to Chad. Please be sure you're selecting the correct audio preference on the right-hand side. If you do select to use a phone, you will need to dial in and use the access code provided. As a reminder, this webinar is being recorded, so you'll be able to share this webinar or rewatch it at your own convenience. And as always, we'll be answering questions throughout the presentation. So if you have any questions that come to mind, please just submit them through the Q&A box on the right-hand side. We do have a few people on hand to help answer those questions. And as always, if you have a very specific question in terms of help with support or anything like that, you can email us at support@untangle.com or sales@untangle.com. And with that, I will pass it over to Chad.
All right, thanks, Shannon. Like Shannon said, everyone, this is a 101 series webinar. So we are not going to do a deep dive into Untangle software deployment, that kind of thing. We're going to do an overview about Untangle for schools. Quick warning on a personal note, I'm getting over a cold. I'm going to try my best to mute myself when I cough. I hope my voice doesn't go. That aside, the goal of today's webinar is really to introduce Untangle to anyone who's unfamiliar with it, like Shannon said. If you are a longtime daily Untangle admin, that kind of thing, this really isn't going to be the webinar for you. We're not going to dive into technical aspects. As you can see in the slide here, breaches are growing in both frequency and in vectors, delivery methods, all while schools are increasingly becoming targets for phishing and even targeted spear phishing attacks, things like that. You can see, errors and cyber espionage are mainly the top reasons for breaches like this. Social media breaches are growing, though. I don't see that slowing down anytime soon, especially in a school environment. And it's become a sad but true fact that phishing emails are targeting educational organizations. They weren't traditionally targets anymore. But we're basically working under the assumption now that kind of everyone is a target. And you can see over here on the little breaches chart, by far, hacking and social are becoming two of the pretty easy vectors for breaches. Hacking can be all kinds of different, that's a big umbrella term, can be all different kinds of methods. But then you see malware and you see social and hacking, social and malware. So a combination of these techniques are proving to be really effective against schools, unfortunately. In the middle chart there, you can see, we are looking at kind of a pie chart of incident types. A lot of that is phishing, 31% of it you can see. Another big slice of the pie there is unauthorized disclosure, which is tough, employee error, things like that. And you can see in the incidents here, education is slowly creeping into the top three. It's still public sector and manufacturing sectors, that are dominant because those are huge companies and organizations that are famous easy targets for phishing and malware and things like that. But education is creeping into the mix. The problem is that schools often lack the resources and sometimes even the expertise to address all of these threats. This little map right here, courtesy of EdTech Strategies, you can go on their site and get this map. This map is pretty startling to me, honestly. I clicked through a few of those, the local ones here in Colorado where I work, and I was actually shocked to see that one school district here up in Boulder County saw losses in the neighborhood of $850,000 because of a phishing scam. They actually got tricked into submitting payments to a phony company and on a redirected website for months on end. That's pretty scary to me, and a lot of these go unreported. 240 incidents reported since last January from public schools. I bet that's about half of them. Some of the stuff doesn't even get reported. So it's getting scary for schools for sure. Phishing is a tried and true method, and organizations such as schools are having to get into employee education and let them know what phishing emails look like, what spear phishing is, things like that. About 74 incidents were reported within the first 5 months of this year. That's kind of an uptick, obviously. With schools, the regulations and solutions make it complex. It's really hard to implement a full-blown security solution across the board when you're not really even sure what you're trying to deflect or block. So it's a bit of a cliche, but it's hard to know what you don't know until you don't know. And then suddenly you're the victim of one of these breaches or an attack. It is really hard to be retroactive with malware and phishing. It's one of these things where we have to be proactive and catch that stuff early. So we should probably introduce you to Untangle to help with all this stuff. If you've never checked it out, Untangle is basically what's called a unified threat management service. So we're a comprehensive UTM device for private public schools, quick and easy to deploy, quick and easy to manage, and we protect the students and employees, the entire network, and we help you maintain compliance. Here in the States, there are a lot of different compliance standards for schools, public schools. They're mostly falling under things like SIPA, and then depending on the type of school, they can fall under a number of different compliances. Some even fall under HIPAA. So there's a lot to kind of keep up with. Untangle can help with all of that. As a solution, we're a low-cost subscription-based software that is very lined up to school budgets. We offer really big discounts on our complete package for public sector and nonprofits. We're talking, 40–50% off retail for our complete package if you're a school or a qualified nonprofit. So you can save costs by leveraging your existing hardware or choosing kind of a turnkey appliance. That's a very big differentiator between Untangle and some other companies in our industry, is that you can use a spare piece of hardware. Maybe there's an old Dell server, something like that, sitting on a shelf in the school's IT closet. It might run Untangle. That's a real quick, easy way to get up and running and get protected with a pretty minimal initial investment. Because we are so modular like that, it's a really easy plug-and-play setup and pretty simple to deploy. As we'll see in my demo server here when we get over there, we have a lot of different deployment methods now, including cloud deployments and things like that. We also have multiple channels of support, including our support team out here in Colorado. They are stateside. They're all based out here just west of Denver in the Mountains time zone. We also have our user forums, which are amazingly active and helpful. This is a Linux community. They're very helpful and interested in things that you have to present as problems. We have a lot of really, really, really sharp users. We have some users who actually contribute code to our product. They're so helpful. So the user forums are a great channel for support. And then we also have our support knowledge base, obviously, support.untangle.com, and our wiki site. I'm our brand rep on spiceworks.com. If you want to come ask a question there, I can answer you. Another cool aspect of Untangle is that it helps you be proactive. You'll have actionable alerts that you can set up. We have a lot of default alerts, but between the Untangle GUI and our command center in the cloud now, we can create all kinds of alerts, both locally on the server and in the cloud in your account. And notifications, historical reports. We can keep reporting data going back 1 year now, which is kind of crazy, but is also necessary for some compliances. And then we also do have advanced support for remote access, things like that. If the support team out here needs to jump in, they can actually remote into your box and help out. And then the seamless transparency of something like Untangle is handy, because if you have an existing router on your network, you can actually install Untangle right now into transparent bridge mode and start filtering traffic without any impact to your network. We don't have to be a router. We can also sit in transparent bridge mode behind your router and not have to change any endpoints, gateways, that kind of thing. So let's talk products just a second. Untangle's got a few of them. NG Firewall here that we're looking at is our main product. It's our software solution, subscription-based software solution that you apply basically on top of the NG Firewall platform. So Untangle's next-gen firewall is the basic platform that we install apps on top of. So if you were to download Untangle right now or buy an Untangle device right now, it would basically be a 2-week free trial, and then without any paid subscriptions applied to it, it would revert to our free package, which is just the NG Firewall platform. And it does offer some handy things. You get a firewall and a captive portal and reporting on the free platform. But on top of that, you can then subscribe to some apps or one of our complete packages. For schools, our complete package, like I mentioned, has a huge, huge discount right off the top. So please, if you do have any questions, contact our sales team. Every price you see on our site is available. Obviously, we're really transparent as a company, but that's retail price. So please don't feel like that's always the bottom line. We also do pretty modular application subscriptions also. We can buy our individual apps, or all of our paid apps individually, I'm sorry. And then also we offer live custom reports. You know, you can drill down into any piece of traffic, basically. You know, if a packet's coming through Untangle and we're seeing it, we can get pretty much any piece of information we want down to, you know, latitude and longitude off a client or a server. I mentioned a little bit of this, so how do you deploy Untangle? There are a lot of ways. Untangle, as a solution, is a piece of software. We, as a company, do offer a line of appliances that have Untangle already installed. They offer hardware warranties, things like that, but as it says on the slide here, you can use third-party hardware. So if you want to source your own hardware based on our specs, if you have a spare server sitting around, like I mentioned, you can use that. You can also virtualize Untangle in a number of hypervisors. We have a virtual appliance file built for VMware ESXi. I use it in VMware every day and love it. But we can also run it through other hypervisors that we only support VMware. But now the new fun thing is being able to host Untangle in the cloud environment for Amazon or Microsoft. So we actually have deployments for the AWS cloud and for the Microsoft Azure cloud now. I think we're still working on Google Cloud. That's not quite there yet. But those two actually have deployments for Untangle. If you're interested in that, just hit us up at support@untangle.com and we can shoot you some documentation. We also offer third-party firmware now. So if you have a little ARM router, such as a Linksys WRT 1900, you can run Untangle as the firmware for that device. What it entails is flashing Untangle onto a little USB and then changing the boot sequence to boot from our firmware on the router. This is a cool new option. You know, it's a little bit less cost intensive if it's a small office. I run Untangle at my house here in Denver on a little Linksys 1900, and it's so far been gangbusters for a year. I'm really pleased with it, and it's helped a lot because instantly there are devices on my network that are sealed off and are behind a firewall. A good example, one of those is my PlayStation 4, which is technically, you know, kind of tied to my banking because I do my cable TV through Sony and all that stuff. So I'm able to send that traffic out of VPN tunnel because I have an Untangle on a little router at my house. So it is a hybrid cloud product. We can manage through the cloud or, you know, on your on-premise device powered by the cloud intelligence from Command Center. The virtual piping is handy because we don't do proxy chaining. Traffic is inspected by all the apps simultaneously. So all of our apps are layer 7 apps, you know, and then with traffic shaping rules, that kind of stuff, we push things through different apps. But inspecting packets simultaneously like that tends to remove latency. And that's just on throughput. You know, we also do things to remove latency on actual networking gear with things like new quality of service algorithms that reduce buffer bloat and things like that. We also tend to have a lighter hardware footprint. This is a Linux server. We run Linux Debian and Jessie currently, so it can be run on smaller, cheaper hardware, you know, whether it's yours or ours. It does not require some kind of supercomputer, massive server to get Untangle up and running. This obviously depends on the size of your network and how many devices Untangle is filtering, but you can go kind of small with the hardware. Linux itself will basically eat all the RAM you can feed it. So if you can, you know, give us a good size hard drive and a lot of memory, Linux will probably be aces on your device. We've talked a little bit about our cloud infrastructure. Let's talk about some of the components of it. So Scout IQ is our cloud-based threat intelligence platform. So what it's doing is aggregating telemetry data from across Untangle devices worldwide. So when one Untangle device sees for example, a zero-day piece of malware that no one's seen before, we tie the telemetry data from that piece of malware to the malware itself, and then that gets uploaded into our cloud system where Scout IQ aggregates that information, then sends it to all the other Untangles who connect to the cloud. So that's very important information to get, telemetry data, because that's what is, you know, called a malware distribution point. That becomes a malicious IP. Those things tend to only be active in the world for, you know, 48 to 70 hours on average. So if you don't catch that telemetry data on the zero-day kind of infection spot, it's really hard to narrow it down because it may just go poof. So this is going to identify threats in the wild across the world, like I said, and it's included in our virus blocking at no additional cost. So even our light version of virus blocker can connect to Scout IQ, the Untangle cloud. The other aspect of our cloud infrastructure is our command center. So this is our cloud-based centralized management. We've kind of thrown this together this year with everything we can. All the ideas we've had for centralized management are all getting thrown into Command Center, and it's becoming a really, really handy product. This just won a Best in Biz award for silver, I believe, for Product of the Year this year, new Product of the Year. It's really awesome. I use this every single day just to check my router at my house. I live in an apartment building where there are a lot of devices, so I tend to keep things separate and only allow my devices, and I just pop into Command Center now and then, and it'll tell me if anything's happened. I actually have alerts set up if a new device comes on my network. I got an email yesterday because I was formatting a computer on my account here at the office, and I got a new device alert. So that's handy. You can just more easily manage multi-site deployments. You don't need any additional hardware just to monitor this stuff. You can log into Command Center on your phone. You can do this just from your tablet or your laptop sitting at the house. You get alerting threat history, auditing logs across all your deployments. This is where you can also manage licensing and software updates and backups. So that's a really handy thing to be able to just jump in here and say, these 3 devices need to update. I need to change the subscription on this one. I need to upgrade it, because we've got, 15 more computers coming. You could do all that in one place now in Command Center. The really cool thing it's doing right now is giving you the ability to clone, edit, and push policies across your fleet. So this is what's letting us turn devices into turnkey solutions for your entire organization. You can get one Untangle configuration set up like you want, have that configuration backed up to our cloud, and then basically we can push configs to all your devices as you get them, and they're all basically set up with the same config like a template. So it's going to reduce, just overhead for management and any cost associated with that kind of stuff. You don't have to send a fleet of folks on site anymore to do all this management. It's a really, really, really handy product. This has been something we've wanted to do for a long time. It did come out this year. We're adding new features every week, it seems like, still, so I'm still keeping up with it, but there is a lot of documentation on our site, on our wiki, and on our YouTube. So that was Command Center. I mentioned our appliances just a bit. So we do have a line of appliances that come with Untangle pre-installed. So these also offer a 1-year hardware warranty by default. You can increase that to 2 or 3 years when you purchase the box. And we do offer kind of 3 different lines of appliances. So we have our smaller appliances here, which are basically desktop models. Our little form factor with an SSD here, the U25. And these are really, recommended for a small office, home office, a little branch office, or a small office with, 15, 20 computers, 25, or even up to 50 devices. For mid-markets, there we go. For mid-markets, we go to the 1U rack mounts, the 150 and the U500. Honestly, both of these are our workhorses. These are absolute killer boxes. I've seen one of these up for years and years without a reboot, which is scary because you shouldn't do that. You need to get those kernel updates, but they're very, very stable systems. And then for bigger campuses, 1,500 to 3,000 devices, we go with our 2U rack mount models, either the M1500 or the M3000. Those are actually usually custom built to order. So if you want one of those boxes, just let us know and we'll go build you one and we'll shoot it out to you. So some of the key differentiators, I've talked about a lot of this already, but we can be built specifically, for school deployments. It is enterprise level security, but we try to go with graphical interfaces, a little more consumer level simplicity. It is browser based with fully responsive admin. You can get into pretty much any browser there is and jump into Command Center and get all the reporting for your box, any kind of audits coming through for SIPA, things like that. It also has pretty intelligent default settings that are tuned to very real-world use cases. We are very deep in the network security world here at Untangle, and we read a lot about cases in the wild and breaches that are happening. So that's why it's so simple for us to tune this thing to the most common threats. That's how we're able to do a wizard-based config for a lot of our apps. You can, if you want to set up traffic shaping rules, you just run through the setup wizard and bandwidth control. You choose the kind of organization you are, and it'll set up about 20 rules for you. We've also got real simple policy management to segment, admins, teachers, and students with really granular rules and permissions different for every group. So the easiest way to do this is through Active Directory that we'll talk about in a little bit, things like that, leverage authentication. This is one of those SIPA requirements, and then we'll be able to see usernames rather than just IPs. We also have extremely comprehensive bandwidth shaping capabilities, like I've said. So this is layer 7 traffic shaping. We can do quota management, put people in penalty boxes, you know, kind of punish negative behavior. We also have an automatic seamless upgrade system, so you don't have to go in and check for upgrades with Untangle. If you want to set a schedule for it to check and apply upgrades, you can do that as well and still leave them automatic. Excuse me. So we are very flexible. This is a software-based solution, you know, but it can be deployed on your hardware, our hardware, virtual machine, in the cloud, whatever's best for you. We do have a freemium package, you know, you can download from untangle.com. It's just our platform free package. Like I said, you'll get a 14-day trial of all the paid apps, and then it reverts to our free package. And then, like I just said, you know, all the cloud-based centralized management, the on-device reports, all this stuff, you know, none of this requires any additional hardware. So just a little bit of recognition, some stuff that people are saying about Untangle. You know, we have been winning a few awards. We won a few this year. You can see we won another Best in Biz award. We actually won a Cody award this year and a Govy award from Security Today. So the one I like to point out, honestly, and maybe I'm biased because I work out here in the Colorado office, is our Customer Service and Technical Support Award. We've won this quite a few times. Our customer support technical support team is absolutely world class. I don't think there's a better one, and if you find one, I'd love to know and talk to them. We do have a really active community. Like I said, this is a Linux product with a really active DIY community. There's people out there that want to try to install Untangle on a light bulb, you know, and they're talking about it on our forums. So I actually really love our community, and they're really, really helpful. As you can see on Spiceworks, also, we're getting a little love there. You know, we've been voted the best software, firewall, and best content filter. I am our brand rep on Spiceworks. If you guys are on spiceworks.com, you can tag Untangled or tag me if you have a quick question. You know, I'll see that and I can jump on and give you a quick answer, hopefully. And then just a few customer quotes. If you go to our website on untangled.com, you can see all these under case studies. But we are, you know, very, very deep in the education market, and we do have a lot of you know, small libraries, small schools, but then also large school districts. You know, we do have a school district pushing, you know, 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 devices through one of our boxes. So it just kind of depends, you know, but we can scale pretty big with custom hardware. So some of these people just have some really cool things to say. You know, you can see this library. We you know, help meet their civic compliance needs. You know, the Breakwater School here, you know, we're just giving them a little bit of a sleep at night, peace of mind, you know, they're knowing that their students are protected. So we are doing some very cool things. We're getting some very cool word of mouth, and people are starting to talk about Untangle and how we do things and how simple it is. So now we will jump over to my demo server here, and we'll run through our software just a little bit. Let's take a look at that. As soon as I reconnect to it. Here we go. So as this comes up, we'll be on my dashboard, and you guys will notice pretty quickly right here that we're actually running our demo server in the Amazon AWS cloud now. So this is actually one of the cloud deployments that's hosted there. That's an interesting thing to me. That can really change things, you know. So if you're an AWS or Azure shop, this can actually be another deployment out there in your EC2 mainframe on Amazon or through Azure. When you jump into Untangle, you get thrown into the dashboard. This is a fully customizable widget-based dashboard, pulling everything from server metrics across the top to geolocation here, and then reporting data across the bottom. So whether or not you're looking for a quick piece of geolocation, a quick piece of you know, web usage, you can get all that stuff right here on the dashboard. This all ties in to our reports modules. So as soon as you install our reports app, it actually creates that dashboard, and then it creates this reports viewer. Any of these reports right here can be fully customized and added to your dashboard as a widget. If you want to change this dashboard around, you can turn these off, you can rearrange them. You can also just come in and add a report that you're looking for. Like I said earlier, one of the requirements of SIPA is usernames in reports, you know, with authentication. So you'll hopefully leverage username, so you can just start typing username, and all the reports that show usernames will come up. So now if you want to see top usernames by request, that'll be the users hitting the internet the most. You can add this to your dashboard right here, and then just basically keep an eye on it all day. Our reports engine is extremely powerful. This is a very, very robust reporting tool. As I said earlier, we can keep up to a year of data. That's actually a compliance standard for some of our customers in the UK now. But most folks keep, a week or 2 weeks, maybe 30 days. If you are keeping a lot of reporting data, we can offload those through Google Drive or through syslog events. Either one would be fine. If you're keeping more than a month or so of data, we always recommend offloading some reports. Another component of our dashboard here is our session viewer. This is where we can see information on every packet coming through Untangle. This is also where we get geolocation. There's a ton of information available here on the session viewer. Even on the sidebar here, you'll see a lot of information presented. But if you're looking for something and not finding it, you can come here to columns, and there's a lot more available there as well. So between the dashboard, the reports, and the session host viewers over here, there's really good instant visibility into what's happening on your network. This information here on the dashboard is going to be as close to real time as we can get it. It's usually about 20 seconds behind because of all the deep packet inspection Untangle does. So as you sit and watch your dashboard, you can see what's happening. You can see query events on the internet in real time. If someone logs on to google.com and searches for free pornography, you'll see that come up in a query event report, which can be a widget on your dashboard, which can then alert you, which can then et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll have those things blocked already, but there's a lot of cool alerting that comes just from the reports module itself. And then over on our apps, we'll go through this just a bit here as there's a lot to cover. Untangle's kind of all-star applications are web filtering with SSL inspection. SSL inspection has become a very necessary component of filtering the internet in 2017. The main reason for this is the nature of encrypted traffic. Since January of last year, nearly 67% of the internet has become completely encrypted. This is HTTPS. So what this means, what Firefox's telemetry team is telling us here, is that since January of 2016, HTTPS requests have outweighed HTTP requests on the internet every single day. And this is historic. This has never happened before. So SSL has taken over. Whether it's a necessary evil or not, if you want to filter the internet in 2017 or mobile devices, I feel SSL inspection is necessary. This is a requirement for SIPA because we have to do deep packet inspection. To do this, we deploy a root certificate from Untangle. This is a pretty standard method of doing deep packet inspection. It's what's called trusted man-in-the-middle deep packet inspection. So you will download Untangle's root cert. If you have something like Active Directory on your network, you can install it to your local devices through group policy. We also have a couple of different methods of getting the root certificate to a device, though. We can do that through our captive portal app. We can also do it locally from the machine. There's a few different ways. Active Directory is the easiest. So the root cert gets deployed to a device. What have you really done? You haven't done much, honestly. All you've done is, my analogy is the root cert is the key in the door. That's really what you've done. You have not turned the key. You have not opened the door. So the root cert's on a PC. What we then need to do is we need to create a rule that tells Untangle to look at that SSL traffic, because by default, we do not and never will inspect all traffic on the secure sockets layer. That would entail us looking at every single packet coming across port 443, decrypting it, analyzing it, re-encrypting it, throwing it out. It gets really, really intense because of the nature of the internet now and the nature of just encrypted traffic. We're not talking about just HTTPS. This can be any encrypted traffic coming across the SSL. So the reason we need one of these rules is because we have to do an inclusion telling it to look. By default, we're ignoring SSL. So a good rule is rule number 8 here, which is Facebook. If you guys can't see that, I'll zoom in here just a little bit, sorry. What this rule says is if there's any certificate subject with the word Facebook somewhere in it, Untangle needs to see it. These two asterisks are wildcards. This is part of what's called glob matching for URLs. So we can do a lot of different URL wildcarding. This one specifically is looking for any word in between those two asterisks in a certificate subject. So that's a very, very simple but very absolute rule. If a packet from Facebook comes through Untangle with that box checked, we'll be able to see it. Without that box checked, we will never see a single Facebook packet. Facebook is 100% HTTPS, whether you're on the web or on a mobile device. So as you can see, some of these are very popular services. These rules here, these 12 or 14 rules, are going to be built in by default on your Untangle because these are extremely popular services that are fully HTTPS now, so they're completely encrypted. So, long story short, once the root cert's deployed, once this rule's created, the key is in the door, the rule has kicked the door open. Untangle is now the man in the middle on these devices' secure traffic. So depending on who's coming through these apps, we'll be able to step in and see users and filter them by username, by URL, however we want to do it. And we do that through policy management. This is where I would come create a different groups for different permissions. So as you can see, the teachers have access to some things that the students don't have access to. This is all very granular. We can do this based on Active Directory or devices or interfaces. The bottom line is everybody can be separate. We don't have to always do separate policies for an individual, but once we do, we can come in and say, okay, so if on my teacher's policy, we need to block these sites. The categories list here in our web filter contains a little bit over 500 million URLs categorized now, so it's a very big industry standard database that we leverage. We can also do quick lookups. Here's a good example. ESPN.com recently received a third categorization. So if I was blocking streamable video and sports, I would suddenly be missing one of the categories because it's now also categorized as news. So this is something I noticed personally on one of my untangles. I was seeing something not being blocked, and I went and looked, and it had an extra category. So this is a handy tool. Block sites here is strictly a blacklist. If you want to come blacklist a site, if I wanted to say no one can ever get to twitter.com, I would type it right first, and I would just say asterisk twitter.com. If you wanted to, for example, block the entire internet on this policy, you can do asterisk dot asterisk. That's looking for any URL with a period in it. So if it's got a dot anything, we're going to block it right there. So what you can do if you want to be extremely strict is you can block all right here, and then you can come over here and say, well, this is where our school.edu needs to be, whatever your school's URL is. That's going to always be open for everyone, and it'll be the only site available on the entire internet if you're doing SSL inspection. That's because this is a whitelist. This is a very, very true whitelist. It will supersede any blocking, whether it's on the block list or the categories tab. Our rules tab is very handy. This is what I wanted to get to because I just talked about policy creation. So we can go in and create separate policies for different individuals, different machines, whatever it is. Maybe one individual in a group needs different permissions. We could make a separate policy for them, but we don't necessarily have to anymore. So let's say I'm a teacher. Everyone is blocked from social networking for the teachers, but suddenly I need it because I'm teaching a class on social media. I don't know. That's a good excuse. So let's go get social networking unblocked for Chad. That's me. So we're going to say my Active Directory username is first and last. But there's a lot of conditions to pull from. So like I said, we can do this by address. We can do it by interface, MAC address. We can still do this by application or by Active Directory group even. I'm going to do an individual user for now, and he needs the web filter category of social networking available. And we'll probably need some mobile apps, honestly, so we'll go give him some mobile apps as well. We'll say the application, you know, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Those are actual mobile applications. So as long as I leave this on pass, I can still get reporting on it with the flag, but I say done, and now I'm the only person out of all the teachers that has access to those things. So while you can go create a new policy, you know, it's the difference between 20 clicks and the 6 or 7 clicks I just made. So we don't have to always go completely new policy. We can get a little bit granular within web filter now. Web filter will also, by default, enforce safe searching on every search engine there is. I really haven't found one that doesn't work on, to be honest. And we can also do what's called blocking from IP-only hosts. So what this is handy for, and I actually saw a YouTube video by a high school kid that was entitled "How to Get Around Your School's Web Filter" that showed me the best case for this. If I were a student and I were going to go to youtube.com but it's being blocked, I could then go back to youtube.com while watching my ifconfig, and I would see the IP address that youtube.com calls out to. Unfortunately, a lot of filters will block a URL only without blocking the IP address that it resolves to. So that kid grabbed the URL, or I'm sorry, grabbed the IP address, plugged it into his browser, and he was instantly on YouTube watching videos by IP only. So this actually blocks that option here. And then we can also restrict some Google apps if you need us to. Another thing I want to mention here is processing traffic by SNI. This is server name indication. We cannot catch all HTTPS traffic by SNI anymore because these are host names. So we don't always get a host name anymore through those packets. So this is why that's not a very complete solution. If you really want to filter the web, you still have to do SSL inspection. So that's our web filtering with basic policy creation and SSL inspection. I do want to talk real quick about a couple of other apps, and then we're going to throw it open for some questions. I mentioned application control a little bit, and that's a very interesting one. Application control and application control lite there you saw can actually be run in tandem if you want. When that happens, application control lite will let you create your own application signatures. So if there's one that you don't find over here, you can always create it, and our support text can help you, or can help walk you through that process. It's not hard. But there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of applications already categorized here with signatures. Some of the most interesting things here, I think, that some of the most interesting options, I guess, that we have are against things like proxy apps. So as I scroll here, we're going to get down into P's, and we'll see all these proxies. So in a school environment, these are becoming you know, hot items. If you've got a student who's, you know, for example, got something like UltraSurf on their tablet or laptop or phone, they're going to try to circumvent Untangle. The way they're going to do that, even if we're blocking it, UltraSurf actually knows when it gets blocked. It's a very smart app, and I personally think those users are pretty savvy as well. So if you block this app, the block actually starts a new TCP connection. It kicks them off, and it creates a new connection that starts a new session, and the app sees that, and it knows it got blocked. And sometimes the user knows too. What UltraSurf will do is we'll start trying to hop to a new port that's open. So if you block it, it starts port hopping, and that junk never stops until it finds one. So we tar pit these instead of block. It still blocks the traffic, but it actually never resets that TCP connection and starts a new session. So the app doesn't know it's blocked, and the user doesn't know they're blocked. That's a crucial thing to me with proxy apps because they're so advanced and they're so smart. So you don't have to let them know they're being blocked. They'll basically just think that UltraSurf isn't connecting, it won't work. You know, it's like, well, I don't understand why it won't work. I'll try again later. Well, it's not going to work again later. It's getting tar pitted. So we can set that up automatically through the rules up here as well. There's a lot of rules you can create here in application control with a lot of conditions that pull from other apps. It's a good rule of thumb to just go ahead and enable this rule as well as the categories that I was just looking at on the previous screen. No reason to not double up on things like that, but there's a lot of different applications available here. You know, we can block everything from Facebook and Farmville all the way up to something like Google Earth. You know, Google Earth is actually a really, really big consumer of bandwidth. So if people are using it a lot, you know, that's something we might want to, you know, either throttle or cache. Something like bandwidth control would help us throttle that. This is where we deprioritize and prioritize apps. This is true layer 7 traffic shaping. So there's a lot of stuff available in here. This is where I mentioned you can run through the quick little setup wizard. This will let you choose school as an organization. What that does by default is it's going to deprioritize peer-to-peer things and downloading, and it's going to prioritize like email and SSH and web interactive services, you know, web apps that they use for learning and things like that. So it's very handy. You can go in and customize any rule you want, though. If I want to just say, you know, the applicant, you know, this guy Chad on the certain application is going to be throttled. You can actually throttle a user. You can tag them. You can put them a quota right here, but I just want to throttle this one user when they're using this one mobile app. So setting a priority is throttling. So I can set a priority and say you're limited all the way down to nothing. I can change these settings in my quality of service over on our config menu. This is a very handy thing. So this ties into a lot of other apps. You can see, you know, we're pulling web filter categories here. We're pulling application control signatures. And we're deprioritizing things like unproductive apps and Windows updates and things like that. It's a really, really handy tool, especially if you have kind of limited bandwidth. We do have a lot of customers that are little rural schools, I'm sorry, that bandwidth is either limited or expensive. So we can set up things like, you know, balancing multiple WANs. We can set up traffic shaping rules, prioritization. All this is available here on Untangle. What we're looking at is our complete package. So this is what we offer such big discounts on for schools and nonprofits. So you would have everything available here to you. That's pretty much it on my little demo here for the Untangle solution. Shannon, do we have any quick questions we can answer?
Yeah, there were some questions that popped up kind of around how to buy. So if you could maybe kind of go through how people can go purchase online by themselves, or if they, talk to us.
Sure. So on untangle.com, there's a little buy tab right here. And as I mentioned before, you can see all of our pricing online. We're very transparent as a company in this industry. This is normally a thing. You have to go through a couple of layers of employees to get any kind of pricing to me in my experience as an admin. So if you want, you can come to untangle.com/buy. You can put your own packages together here. You can get your own quotes. You can see how we break out our license bands. The important part to me is that you keep in mind that this is retail. If you are looking for quick pricing, we can do that. Our public sector for a public school, like I said, is about half off. It's significant discounts. But what I want to reiterate, though, is if you guys are looking for pricing, definitely get in touch with us. Either give us a call or email us at sales@untangle.com, because we might be able to give you a little bit better deal than you're seeing online. I don't know. But please don't think this is the bottom line. This is retail price, but it is available to get a baseline.
Great. And then I wanted, if people wanted to learn kind of about the package, can you just show the differences between the two packages, the public sector complete and the nonprofit complete, just so everyone is aware of what they can qualify for?
Sure. So public sector complete here is available for our public school institutions, things like that, even government sector, that kind of thing. They are both our complete package, so the software is not different between these two. The difference is the discount. So nonprofit, I believe, is 40%, public sector is 50%. That might be backwards. I don't think it is. I think I've got it right. But it is the same exact software. So I want to reiterate that. The package doesn't change, whether it's the nonprofit or the public sector. And the difference that you'll see here is the complete package versus our free package. This gives you, for one, every single thing we make, but you get a full-blown unified threat management platform. This is everything from antivirus, both locally on the box and in our cloud, to firewall intrusion prevention, even down to ad blocking. We do pretty much everything you would need done on one device. With that educational package, you also get access to our live support module. That's, to me, invaluable, especially at the beginning if you're new to Untangle, because that gives you access to our support team here in Colorado on the phone, rather than just shooting an email and opening a ticket, which they'll help you with also. But it's nice to get a voice on the phone, when you're new to Untangle, and that live support lets you do that. And our team out here, like I said, is great. They're let me look. They're averaging a 97% satisfaction rate, and they answer the phone in about 32 seconds currently. So they're great, and that thing tends to pay for itself pretty quick, especially when you're new to Untangle.
All right, we're getting a bunch of questions that just came in. So
all right,
let's see. Is there a way? People are asking about filtering like Chromebooks and stuff, since that's kind of a popular
sure
program at schools.
Yeah, we can. We do that usually through different policy. We would set up a different policy for the Chromebooks. If they are connecting through like a wireless access point, we can actually set up policy based on an interface. So if we wanted to, for example, create a policy for mobile devices and they're coming in on a specific wireless interface, we could actually choose that here and say everything that comes in on this interface comes over here to the, for example, Chromebook policy, if we create it. The tricky part to all this stuff is when those leave the network. So if we need to force filtering offsite, we do that through, the G Suite admin console. We do that with mobile device management software, depending on the OS, the mobile OS. But as long as we can, manage the device mobile console, we can actually force that VPN connection. So if they're offsite, yeah, the mobile device management software will say this device still has to connect through VPN through Untangle. Untangle will be the VPN server if they're off-site. So there are a couple of different ways to do it, whether they're on the network or going home with students. But yeah, with the right setup, we can filter all that stuff.
All right, someone is looking, is interested in how Untangle handles captive portal solutions. Can you maybe just briefly go over kind of some different
I clicked the
authentication.
wrong one, but you can see. So this is our captive portal. This is part of the open source product, but it is also in the complete package, obviously. The caveat is it's an open source captive portal, so it's got a few limitations. Capture rules can be set up to basically put a portal in front of any traffic. It doesn't have to be quote unquote Wi-Fi, anything like that. You know, we can set up a lot of conditions to present a portal if we want to. From here, we can also set up authentication. So by default, nobody really signs into Untangle for any reason. If you need them to, if you want them to, we would set up a captive portal using your authentication. If you have Active Directory, that's a very clean, easy way. That way, no matter where they log in, you know, they're using their Active Directory credentials, and we'll see that, and it'll pass to Untangle as a username. So you can see we have a few different ways to do this. You can create a local directory if it's a really small environment. That's very simple. We can use a Radius server, Active Directory, or we can use an OAuth provider now. So if you are like Chromebooks is a good example. If it's a G Suite environment, we can use their Google account for authentication now. So that's a very handy thing. And then on the captive page, we would just basically change this to be a login. So give us your username and password, change your text, please be nice on the network. And then if you need to, we can also require, check, or disable the Untangle root certificate right here. So if these are mobile devices that are on the network on Wi-Fi, we would want to require the certificate first one time, and then after that, they log in every morning and the certificate's already there, and boom, Untangle is the man in the middle on that mobile device, and they're filtered. So we can do all that stuff through the captive portal, yeah.
Great. Sorry, there's just a bunch of questions.
No worries.
Coming
Yeah.
Someone's asking if there's a way to test these out, these applications out before purchasing.
Yeah, the best way to do this, if you have it, you can download Untangle right now. This will give you a 2-week free trial. Like I said, the easiest way, the least impactful way is usually through a virtual machine. If you don't have that, but if you have a piece of hardware, you can also do that. So what you can do is install Untangle either physically or virtually, and put us in transparent bridge mode on your network. The way that looks is pretty simple. We'll just sit behind your router and filter things kind of quietly. So that's one of only 2 ways Untangle can install. We're either your router or we're right behind your router in the transparent bridge mode. So for testing, you could install us into bridge mode in front of your network but behind your router firewall. So we don't really impact anything. We don't, you don't change gateway addresses for your end users. We don't take down the network or anything like that. It's a pretty seamless, easy way to test Untangle. That obviously will require, either a virtual machine or a physical machine to test with. If you don't have that, we could, obviously you can jump on our demo server anytime, but to test live traffic, I would want to get a box in line in transparent bridge mode, either virtually or physically, and then just kind of let us sniff traffic for a while. On that 2-week free trial, you'll get a really good indication of what's happening because you'll have access to reporting and deep packet inspection, and then you can see, oh, well, maybe we need to go block this thing. It's 40% of our total bandwidth for the day. We didn't know it was even being used. So it's a really, really valuable tool to have that 2-week free trial. It just requires a box or a virtual machine to install on. But then we can test like crazy with every single packet coming through.
All right. I'm going to still let questions roll in. We have someone on the back end helping answer questions. But why don't we kind of continue with the slides just because we're kind of running out of time. So just wanted to mention to everyone, if you're not aware, Untangle has been recognized in the Gartner Magic Quadrant for Unified Threat Management for the 2nd time in a row. We're very excited about that. If you're not familiar with Gartner, they're the world's leading research and advisory company that provides guidance for every industry. Some of you may have heard of Untangle through Gartner, but you can read a full report on this, not just about Untangle, but about what the company, the research company believes the industry for firewalls is moving into. And then I just want to mention some promotions we got going on. It's the end of the year and we're offering some great promotions. If you're a school, contact us. Chad mentioned that there is special pricing for nonprofit and public sectors, depending on what you qualify under. But we also have some end-of-year savings, some limited time pricing in addition to those special pricing packages. So give us a call and find out what is offered, what you can get, what your sales rep can do for you. if you're not a school, or if you are a school, we also are offering a trade-in, trade-up program. So if you have an existing Untangle software subscription or appliance, we do offer that some special pricing when you upgrade that. And then for trade-ins, if you have a competitor's product and you are looking to switch to Untangle, you can give us a call and find out what kind of discounts you can receive to upgrade to an Untangle product. So please, slides went away somewhere. There they are. So please just give us a call. You can contact us at sales@untangle.com, or give us a call, or if you have a sales rep, contact them, find out what kind of pricing you can get. And I believe that's all the questions we have right now. So thank you so much for your time. If you have further questions, if we didn't get to your question, if you have a very specific network setup question, we have the forums. Chad mentioned it's an online community, not just users, but also pretty much all of our engineers are on there 24/7 helping our users figuring out if they have a problem or want to implement something new. We also have support at untangle.com that's always there to help as well. And if you're interested in an Untangle solution or just want to chat more to learn more about it, or have Chad give you an even more in-depth demonstration, you can contact us at sales@untangle.com, and we'd be happy to set that up for you. Let's see, I think that's about it. As mentioned, this webinar is recorded, so you will be able to rewatch this later or share it with anyone else. And I think that's all we got now. So with that, thank you, everyone, and I hope you have a great rest of your week. Thanks, Chad.
Thanks, guys.